Welcome all. Today's topic of discussion is normal distribution. What is normal distribution? Normal distribution is also called Gaussian distribution because it was first discovered by Carl Friedrich Gauss. It's a continuous probability distribution because most of the data values cluster around the mean. Many variables have approximately normal distribution, that is, distributed normally in a population. Some examples of variables are height, weight, blood pressure, IQ, job satisfaction, memory, and so on. Many inferential statistics require that the data are distributed normally. That is, parametric tests are used only where a normal distribution is assumed. Now, we will see what are some of the characteristics of normal distribution. A normal distribution curve is a bell-shaped curve, shape of a bell. This is because most of the values lie at the center and fewer values lie at the tail extremities. This results in a bell-shaped curve. Another peculiarity is the curve never touches the baseline. The curve never touches the baseline. So it's a bell-shaped curve because most of the values lie at the center and only few values at the tail extremities. Then another characteristic is it is bilaterally symmetrical. The normal distribution curve is symmetrical about the mean. Half the values fall below the mean or to the left of the mean and half above the mean, that is towards the right of the mean. That's why the normal distribution curve has a symmetrical nature, that is it's bilaterally symmetrical. The right side of the curve is the mirror image of the left side of the curve. Then normal distribution curve have only one peak. So it has only one peak. It is unimodal. Then another characteristic is mean, median and mode are equal. That is mean equal median equal mode. The midpoint of the normal distribution is the point with maximum frequency. That is, most observations lie at the midpoint. Here, all three measures of central tendency fall. That is, mean, median and mode. These measures of mean, median and mode are equal in normal distribution. That's why it is a symmetric distribution. The other picture shows a skewed distribution. This is a negatively skewed distribution. So, this is a difference between symmetric distribution and skewed distribution. Symmetric distribution, mean equal, median equal, mode. And in skewed distribution, these three measures of central tendency are not equal. This picture shows, the center one shows the normal distribution and the left side shows negatively skewed distribution and in the right side it is positively skewed distribution. In a negatively skewed distribution, the mean is always lesser than the median and median is lesser than the mode. So mean lesser than median, median lesser than mode. So the tail is this is not a symmetric distribution. The skewness is towards the left side. In a positively skewed distribution, the mean is always greater than the median and the median is always greater than the mode. The skewness is towards the right, that is positively skewed distribution. Then another characteristic is the distribution is described by two values, the mean and the standard deviation. In a normal distribution, the mean is 0 and the standard deviation is 1. The area under the curve is 1. Area under the curve is 1 or 100%. So, half the area, half of the area to the right side is 50% and from the center to the left side is 50%. Total area under the curve is 1. Mean determines the line of symmetry of a graph. So, mean and standard deviation are the two values with related to this normal distribution. Mean determines the line of symmetry of a graph. That is, determines where the peak of the curve is centered. Increasing the mean moves the curve towards right. That is, positively skewed. Decreasing the mean moves the curve to left. That is, negatively skewed. Standard deviation is used to measure how much variation exists in a distribution. So, standard deviation measure how much variation is there in a distribution. That is, how far the data are spread. Far the data are spread out. Smaller standard deviation means values are close to the mean. Data are close to each other and the graph becomes narrower. Smaller standard deviation means values are close to the mean and data are close to each other and the graph becomes narrower. But larger standard deviation means data are spread out. Graph becomes wider. Mean is the location parameter and standard deviation is the scale parameter. So once again, the area under the curve is 1 and mean equals 0 and standard deviation equals 1. And the distribution is described by the two values, the mean and standard deviation. For all distributions, about 68.2% of the observations will appear within plus or minus 1 standard deviation of the mean. 95.4% of the observations will fall within plus or minus 2 standard deviations and 99.7% within plus or minus 3 standard deviations. So, the mean plus or minus 1 standard deviation, it is shown in the figure, that is about 68.26%. Mean plus or minus 2 standard deviation, the area covered is 95.44 and mean plus or minus 3 standard deviation 99.7%. I will explain this with an example. Height of middle-aged women is found to be normally distributed with a mean of 160 centimeters and a standard deviation of 5 centimeters. Now, about 68% of women have height between 155 and 165 centimeter with the mean plus or minus 1 standard, plus and minus 1 standard deviation. 95% have height between mean plus and minus 2 standard deviation, that is 150 and 170. 99% have height between 145 and 175 centimeters with mean plus or minus 3 standard deviation. To conclude, most of the variables are normally distributed in a population. Normal distribution or Gaussian distribution is a type of continuous probability distribution with a bell-shaped curve. Data are symmetrically distributed and is unimodal. And the area covered under the curve is 1 and mean and standard deviation are two values which describes the normal deviation. and mean is the location parameter, standard deviation is the scale parameter. Again, it is unimodal and mean, median and mode are equal. So it's a bilaterally symmetrical distribution with a bell-shaped curve. Thank you.